Welcome to Bitstorm, a comedy game design podcast by two guys who know nothing about comedy nor game design. I'm Trevor Scott, and with me, as always, is the wonderful Ben Slinger.
Welcome to the smooth evening sounds of Bitstorm. Tonight we're going to ramp up some click pitch and get some lovely, lovely game designs in your ears.
Yes, and why don't you tell our lovely viewers about that, Benjamin?
Well, if they're viewers, then I'm not sure what they're viewing because we're an audio medium.
They're just viewing a still image of our beautiful faces.
Ramped up click pitch is a game where we each have a random word generator in front of us, and on the count of 3, 2, 1, click. We each click refresh, get a new word, jam them together into a sexy word sandwich, and then swallow it whole without gagging.
As a game design.
And make a game design. Okay, let's start.
How long can we keep these characters up for?
That's it.
Not long.
I apologise to everybody's ear holes. Yeah, we're going to do ramped up click pitch. Let's get into it. 3, 2, 1, click. Plain stream.
Muddled folding.
Okay.
Now, plain is spelt how?
Plain.
Because it's very different from if it's an aeroplane. Plane.
A flat surface in 2 dimensions. No, plain
Stupid
stream.
English.
So, stream could be so many things.
I mean, I see stream and I see folding and I sort of go, you know, is this a story of someone, you know, washing clothes in a stream?
Ooh, or paper boats is when you just said that, the other thing I thought of.
Yeah.
Maybe we combine the two. Maybe this is a small game about a child playing in a stream while their mother, washes clothes nearby.
Mm-hmm.
I could see a very, high def water simulation kind of thing in this limited space where you can just throw stuff in the stream and watch it go down, and then you can make your paper boats and almost just a little relaxing, chill experience, you know?
Well, it's all relaxing until your character gets kidnapped by a witch. Because I'm seeing this as sort of like an introduction to a bigger sort of game. Having watched recently the movie The Witch, which is set in sort of olden times, and it's a rather slow burn, but it's also quite eerie how normal it is until shit starts to go wrong. That this could actually be this beautiful sort of setting of the kids folding things. You can throw the toy boats into the river and see them go down, and and then you see a nice big one and you follow it.
You see a boat that you didn't make.
Yeah.
It's
and you follow it.
You follow it down the stream. Okay.
Yeah.
And the woods around you start getting darker and more eerie.
Oh, yeah. And I like the idea of, you look forward and it's kind of dark and eerie and mysterious, and you look back and it's bright streaming sunshine. You look forward and it's
lollipops and witches all around me. They all want to eat my face and I am frightened.
Fucking love that, dude. Well done.
Yeah, okay. That's cool. And so is this sort of obviously it's some sort of horror game then. You're playing this child. Are you picturing sort of a third person kind of situation? Because I feel like you can get some nice imagery of this young, scared child running through the woods, well animated. Yeah.
I think this is a good position to sort of play a few different characters, from the same family. You maybe just play the children of the family. So you play the youngest one first, and it's all about how they get tempted into
That's almost the prologue, and there's just like a jump scare cut to black when they get to a certain part of the forest, and you don't necessarily know what happened. Mm-hmm. And then it cuts to, like the older sister, and the mother's like, "Go and find Billy for me, would you, dear?" So you do. And
that's where the adventure sort of starts.
Yeah.
And it's all about just finding Billy.
Yep. But you come across...
And getting him back. And it can be, a somewhat Hansel and Gretel styled witch. It doesn't have to be, going along the lines
candy house.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. Yeah. Like there's a house in the woods, effectively, just off the stream. There's just something about a stream and seeing one of those big water wheels turning around.
Like you come across the witch's hut in a clearing. Yeah,
and
it's forest.
Built right on the side of the stream. Yeah. And basically there's a water wheel that's turning something inside.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool because the ambient sound of just that water wheel constantly kind of creaking as it goes around and the water splashing is really cool. And then you get on
You get inside and there's a rotisserie built on the water wheel.
I was going to rotisserie as well. I'm not sure that we want that to be where you find Billy, but maybe you find something else gross on that water.
Yeah, a big rodent or something like that, like a squirrel, and it burnt to a crisp.
Yeah, and I think it's something, or it's something big enough that's like. And it is so burnt that you show the player for a second like they think it is a human child, but then on closer inspection, it's like a.
But I think in this place you also find some. You find some clothing of Billy's or something like that, and you get the idea that yes, he's been here.
Is this sort of a Gone Home-esque situation where there's a lot of environmental storytelling? You can wander around this witch's house, really discover things in the environment, check them out up close. Find some scratched notes in a spell book or whatever. And go quite that witchy. Even it's like sheafs of notepaper with weird symbols on them that you don't quite understand what they mean.
Yeah, and maybe like there's scratching from like previous victims. And it just so happens that, Billy's the latest victim of this witch.
Damn it, Billington. Why did you run into the woods?
And of course, you could do the whole flipping it on its head because everyone's just expecting that it's a witch, but it turns out that it's like this,
creature.
Old man sort of thing, or basically gender switch it's actually like a warlock or some other magical being that is.
It's a unicorn.
Not.
It's a like bipedal unicorn. Everyone got it wrong. They're not actually horse creatures at all. They're just humans with horns on their heads.
They're actually a minotaur, but they only have the one horn.
Yeah. It's right in the back of their head, strangely enough. It's fairly useless. It's sort of a
statement piece.
It's a statement piece. I was trying to come up with the word where it's like evolutionary, no longer needed. What's that fucking... Starts with a D, I think. Anyway. I'll think of it halfway through the show. Mm-hmm. Everyone at home is screaming the word at me right now.
Most likely.
Mm-hmm, yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
So Jean-Click, I think we've got the depth of... No, we don't have to jump on right away, but I do... Yeah, I think sort of that Gone Home-ish thing where it's that slow burn. You don't know if something's going to happen at any moment, and we can have these kind of little jump moments where, when you open a door, you see like the rotisserie or whatever, and you think it's a fucking human. And more things like that as you venture deeper into the forest and follow.
Yeah, I see this very much as those typical walking simulators, and you're telling sort of like a story about this family effectively. Like it can go even further than just, this could just be act one of the weird shit that happens this year to this family. And,
right. Oh, maybe they find Billy in act one, but then he comes back and he's not quite right.
Exactly. He's actually somewhat been
at the back of his head.
He got bitten by the were-unicorn. The were-acorn.
All right, 3, 2, 1, click.
Mm-hmm.
Postponed jump.
Pouring fare.
Pouring?
Pouring.
Okay.
Pouring. And fare being like a taxi fare.
Oh, okay. All right. Jump. What would you need to pay a fare for to jump? Postponed jump.
Ooh. I know that we go to this well quite a bit, but there's something about like a time taxi. A taxi that can take you through time.
Taxi well.
No, we go to time. We go to time quite often, but I like the idea of, you know, you're paying someone to take you through time.
Yeah, that's cool. No, I like that. Paying the fare to go on time travel. Playing into the stereotypical, like, New York taxi driver. When do you want to go?
When do you want to go? Is it, I suppose we need to settle down on the time travel that we're allowing. Is it Back to the Future style where it moves in time but not in place? Or is it,
so yeah, there are a few ways. I feel like if it's this common, then it's actually more like an observer sort of situation where you can travel to a time, but you can't affect anything while you're there.
Okay.
So it's sort of a situation.
What is the reason?
Well, you can still go.
Does your consciousness only travel through time?
So yeah, look, we can come up with some technobabble around why, but I'm sort of thinking you've essentially got the one true timeline, and it's always moving forward at any point. And nothing else can be affected except at the moment that time, you know, if you're there in that time period.
Okay, so it's very Bill and Ted's where things are moving forward at all times. Like, if you actually have a look at the way that Bill and Ted's works, it's that there's basically two time periods. There's one in San Dimas right now, and there's one in San Dimas exactly 200 years in the future.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like that. So obviously there comes some difficulties. Going to the past is not a problem as observing the past, because you can't change anything there, and so your current timeline's not going to change. Maybe you can't go to the future. I don't know. Maybe it's one of these time travel things where the future is not
maybe
determined.
The future is actually locked down in the point that this time taxi can't go there, but it is possible.
Oh. Well, maybe it's treacherous. Maybe it's this sort of thing where, okay, there's the one prime timeline. You can go back into the past. You can find information that you otherwise wouldn't have been able to find. You can bring that back to that prime timeline, and you can utilize that information to change the future. Like that, if you hadn't been able to travel through time, that wouldn't be the case, right? That almost doesn't cause any causality issues.
No, because I mean, stuff that happened in the past is fair game because it's already known on Earth.
It's already happened. Even if nobody was there, you're only applying that information in the actual present day. The future, though, if you're able to travel to the future and then come back and use that information, then you can change the future and create some sort of paradoxical thing where there was actually no way for you to have figured out that future. Now, you could just say, well, that's fine. Like, you viewed that possible future and then changed it. It's treacherous in a way because if you do something to change the future, it's not actually guaranteed that what you originally saw is still playing out in any way.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
You've changed enough stuff in the present day that it could have completely modified the future. And so, you know, things like, well, it's almost a Minority Report sort of situation where if you jump forward and see someone kill someone and then come back and arrest them, well, is that ethical? Like, you just having gone there, you might change other things slightly different that would mean they wouldn't have done it, or different things like that.
Okay, so this organization that provides these time capsules / time taxis, I think there's something sort of sinister about them in the fact that I think the reason why they're stopping people from going forward into the future, even though they're saying that this is what's actually happening, this company is actually just working out of this time period, but they're actually from the future.
Oh, so they've found a way to actually travel as opposed to just observe different times.
Yeah. And so they're now operating out of this. They're trying to get the information and letting people go back whenever they want and, you know, do the observer thing, but they're looking for certain information to try and stop something happening in the future.
So is this a bit like Travelers? Did you watch that show on I think it was on Netflix, which was where in the future they'd created this AI to essentially coordinate travel back into the past to stop cataclysmic events from happening. And so the people in the past had sort of these specific missions and these directives that they couldn't, break to avoid letting people know about time travel, but it was orchestrating them all. So this is kind of that, but instead of any sort of altruistic AI, rebellion, it's a corporation, a mega corporation trying to set itself up essentially to be even bigger and more powerful by sending
and
agents.
Essentially what you find out, because I think you maybe play the
cabbie,
the taxi driver. There's just something about playing a time cabbie.
I think maybe the cabbies, like, they get called cabbies is just the local vernacular sort of thing. But yes, I think it's more like you just go into a capsule and it's sort of, you get an experience where everything around you feel like you've been transported to a place and you can kind of walk around. It's almost like you're in a very high def VR though, but you're seeing that time period. And the cabbie is there to facilitate and like get you around. And it's not a self-serve situation. They're kind of like they're kind of like the old elevator valet or whatever. Where do you want to go? But so what that means is they see a lot.
Yeah. I think what happens one day is someone from the company comes in and asks to go to a certain time period. And you see something that you're not supposed to have seen, which is basically you see the very start of this company, which is these people just arriving from the future and immediately the time travel stuff just all of a sudden exists. And when you look into it further, like, it's as if this company appeared out of nowhere and was all of a sudden the most powerful company in the world.
If you start looking into it, you can't find any sort of documentation around like people inventing this technology or, the build up to it or announcing it. Yeah.
It's as if one day Apple has always existed, and so your mind has sort of almost been altered in the fact that did Apple exist yesterday? I don't know, because I feel like I've always known that Apple has existed.
Yeah, it essentially altered the time stream enough that everyone's memories were also altered, but not so well that there's not a little bit of doubt there about this specific thing and sort of missing memories that it kind of couldn't fill in the gaps of because there are paradoxes in place.
Yeah, and I kind of like the idea of also seeing like his life, maybe doing that sort of separate thing of you're living without the time stuff existing, and then and basically you're almost showing his life before working for the company.
Can he start using the time taxi to travel back, and he figures out a way to go into essentially the overlapping time streams and filter one out from the other, right? So he can see, you can go back to 5 years ago in the version where they hadn't gone back, and then you can view it in the version where they have gone back and like compare and see the differences.
Of course, there's a big red button right in the center of your thing that basically, you're not supposed to press, but you get asked by this guy to press it at one stage. And that's what brings you corporeal. And so you start realizing that, hey, I can actually go back to some of these other times and
put a big button there. In the like consumer versions of this thing. No, I think maybe I do like that.
Maybe you have to enter a code. You enter a code and push the big red button.
You find us, but like your one, there's no way it can do it. Like they don't build that into the consumer ones, but you have enough experience now with the one you've got that you can, tweak some things. And I feel like you've got some nice little kind of analytic games, mini games sort of things that you have to do to like separate the signals and stuff. And it means that while you're observing, you can go back and forth between either of those timelines. Because it's kind of like if you had, stereo headphones and you're just going, panning from one to the other. Because that could give some really cool effects that you're doing in the game. And then that
and it kind of almost gives you that fringe-esque sort of thing of where you see the two different timelines, where there's one with all the blimps everywhere, and then there's the one that is kind of normal, and you can sort of
absolutely. I think they
tune between the two timelines.
Yeah, and that lets you then sort of go around. And I'm sort of just picturing this as a bit of a adventure, like a first-person adventure-y kind of thing, maybe.
Oh, it's 100% in VR. I want to actually be moving shit.
That's true. Yeah, VR would be good. VR would be good.
Having to physically set a dial to the time period they want and pulling a lever and all this sort of stuff. There's just something about having to physically move these things.
That's true. That would be good for sure. VR, okay. And so I think the gameplay is kind of just around gathering evidence in these different time periods with, some sort of, obviously some puzzle sort of stuff of, I should look in the other timeline because, something might be different there or whatever. But what I think happens then is that leads you to be able to sort of essentially sneak in or break in or talk your way into their company, and that's where you find the machines that are capable of actually corporeally taking people back in time. And then that's
okay. There's something to limit the amount of time periods that the cabbie can go to.
Yeah,
I'm thinking that each of your customers that come up, they hand you like a card. And when you put that card in, you can basically select, the location that is programmed into that card. So effectively, depending on how many cards you've gone through in the game, it depends on how many different locations you can actually go to.
Well, and also because you've just given me a nice Papers, Please-ish sort of beginning to this where, you're sitting there and you go through a few customers to obviously build up the world and build up what you're doing. Someone comes in and it's like, I want to go to, ancient Rome and see the fucking gladiators or whatever. And it's like, yep, okay, you got your card and you look at it. It's like, plug it in. It comes up on the screen. You do your little handles. You tune it in so it's right. And then you watch a scene play out essentially with this person, whatever they wanted to see. And then
you may be able to, answer some questions and ask this person as to what exactly they're looking for.
Yeah,
and
I think have
a bit of a conversation.
But then you come back and you hand them back the thing and that's it. I think after a certain point though, when you start seeing that some shifty stuff is coming on, that you gain the ability to essentially make a copy of the card. And so yes, you're still limited, but you start giving the player a set of times to go to that are going to be, that hold clues to what might be happening. And then some just red herring random ones with sort of Easter eggs and stuff. It's like, you can go back to prehistoric times because you had a customer and you copied their card. But there's nothing there.
There's just something about our cabbie who I'm just picturing his time capsule has got like that classic yellow on the outside with like the black checkerboard pattern all the way around. It's just got written like, 1-3 time or something like that. And, that's
like the phone
actual
number to call. Yeah. Like to make a booking. Totally.
Yeah. So you actually go back to his place of, his residence, and late one night, a card gets sort of slipped underneath his door.
Yeah.
And that's how he basically gets a selection of 3 new cards that he can sort of go to. But I think what you find out later on is you yourself have actually slipped it under the door.
Okay,
and you're leading him on this journey.
Okay. I'm going to bring some of that in. That'll be fun to write.
I always love doing that stuff.
Good luck, writers, with that one. But no, that is fun. I feel like, there's a really cool adventure you could put in place there. I was also just thinking, I wonder if you do gain the ability, because we talked about going into the future and it's being, it's forbidden effectively. But, during this investigation, there obviously would be reasons to do so. And you still need a card to do it. And maybe that's one of the cards that, like, you get given at some point. And, I'm just picturing watching someone, put in a code or whatever, and now that code to get through a door to get into the place or whatever. Different things like that.
And maybe there's a thing of you try to just go there by itself, and it says, warning, this is, greater than your date. Please enter jump code or something like that. But what you can do is you can open up the underneath and like, sort of like jumpstart, hotwire it.
That's cool. Yeah. I like the idea of this person being, an expert on this machinery now, essentially. Yeah, that's cool. I like the idea as well of if you go into the future, it's actually really cloudy and like it's not like going to the past where everything's set in stone and it's just high clarity. You see like ghostly figures and different things because it's essentially showing you a probability cloud
Oh God, you talk to someone and you see like a ghost of that person continuing on while there's also that person standing with you.
Yeah.
That's
cool.
You've just by talking to this person, you've just created like another parallel universe. Like,
that's pretty fun. Yeah. That's cool. I like that. Time taxi.
So who is the, other than, there's some nefarious plan.
Yeah.
What do you reckon happens in the end? Do you think that our character actually can sort of do that moral choice of do they let the company continue because obviously they're doing something right, or
I think we make them a full-on villain. They're a completely unethical company, and the end of the story is you get to tear them down because that's just cathartic. Fuck choices. This is just a narrative thing. You tear this company down, and
you get that choice to join them or tear them down at the end. They're basically your two choices.
No, I don't like that. I think the choices are you get to choose which time stream to reinstate or to essentially make the prime stream. Either way, the company's going down because now you've got that information and you can alter the future to make sure that they can't actually gain that prominence. But because of like a quirk in time travel or whatever, you can essentially lock in, even though it creates a semi-paradox sort of situation, you can lock in either timeline. And so we can have given different things like, maybe in the original timeline you find out that like his partner died. So if you do restore the original timeline without this company's chicanery, then your partner's still dead. But in the current timeline, they're alive. That's where you give the moral choice rather than do we let this unethical company survive? It's like, no, fuck the company. It's how we're moving forward from here. Yeah. That could be fun. And then you just get some alternate endings.
Time taxi. There we go.
Time taxi. I love it. All right. Do you want to do another, or should we move on to a different segment?
One more.
Because
I like my words.
Okay. Tell me what you got.
Psychological vandalism.
Oh, that's fun. Charmed function.
So I'm sort of thinking, is this an Inception sort of thing where you're going into someone's head and you're sort of vandalizing, or there's someone out there doing this and you've got to try and...
Yeah, so the word function makes me think of programming because that's my day job. Mm-hmm. But I like this situation where you're essentially like creating viruses for people's brains, right? And it could be one of these sort of like a quadrilateral cowboy or something like that, where you actually get to like write the commands, or maybe it's like a visual scripting language or something where you get to kind of click together these different things to essentially create feelings, create emotions, create memories, maybe within people's minds. And then there's some way that you have to do to like install it and execute it. Whether it's get them to eat a pill or like plug them into something or however, get them close enough to a,
I'm kind of almost thinking like a, Johnny Mnemonic or, some sort of matrixy thing where everyone's got like a port on the back of their head.
This is like a Black Mirror kind of situation where, yes, we've got all this software in our heads. There's some sort of device in there that maps and mirrors our brainwaves and then learns to alter them and whatever, right? Whether it's wireless or a physical port. Physical port's kind of fun.
Physical port, definitely. Like, wireless is, it becomes very much, that Watch Dogs thing of, oh, look, I can see their thing and bang, it's hacked. Whereas having to actually sneak up to someone and get them undetected and, plug a USB into their brain and get out. And make sure that USB is up the right way.
This is like, you get a mini game of spinning the USB.
And it's always 100% wrong the first time you do it.
It's guaranteed never to be right the first time.
Nor the second time. The third time, always right.
Sometimes it takes me even more. Do we go USB? I am thinking, okay, this is like the early version of this tech, but it's taken off, because people haven't sort of realized the holes in the security, and everyone's got one of these. It's sort of paradigm shifting tech, but almost built on oldish tech. So yeah, it's a relatively conspicuous and large port.
And that's why most people actually grow long hair, because, it sort of covers it up.
Having a fucking coax, like the whatever you call those fucking, the bus, like the coax bus network. You need to put a terminator on one end and connect
terminator on the end. Yep.
For that to work properly.
Effectively becoming a token ring network.
Yeah. Go that kind of 80s, 90s vibe with the tech, but it's this obviously completely advanced brain mirroring stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like that. Okay, yeah. I like that vibe. I like that aesthetic of big chunky laptops, like big chunky two-color, like monochrome laptops.
Yeah.
And plugging in via like a parallel port or something.
I think like kids who have got the upgrade have got like an RJ45 jack, which is like those typical like your
network port kind of
network
port or
jacks.
whatever. Yep.
Yeah, but the older generations have the
like a parallel port or something.
Yeah. 9-pin serial port.
Yeah. The big ribbon cables.
There's just something about like old tech that just works so well.
Oh, it's just endearing.
Yeah.
You've got your viruses stored on 5.5-inch floppies.
CRC sector not found.
Whatever it is.
Let me just open it up. So I think you can go through a few different time periods, and see like the technology.
I think it's more that as you explore the world, you learn about the different time periods and how it's like. I think you said
maybe it's a status thing of the higher status these people are, like the better technology they've actually got.
Yeah,
so
that could work.
Everyone's got some sort of port, but the 1% have wireless, and everyone else has like a port that goes down from there.
And also that affects the security then as well. Like if you've got the higher, to a point, I feel like obviously, you can spend more money and you'll get higher security, but also now you don't need a physical connection if they've got the wireless. And so if you can find the exploit, you can like hack 20 people at once and put them all to sleep or whatever.
So what is your character? Are they just a lowly programmer that is helping people out? And as he's going along, he notices that there's some really nasty programs that have been uploaded into this little old lady or something like that. And he starts thinking of nefarious things that
he himself is like doing virus scans. Maybe it's a common thing, but generally they just affect like,
he's just IT support. He's just the support guy.
Yeah. But I think the current batch of viruses are relatively low impact in that they provide some, they like create some vision issue, like some weird hallucinations just at the edges of your vision and stuff. They might like make you forget things or have a hard time remembering for a little while, but it all comes back. Like there's no permanent damage. And so people will, it's like, oh fuck, I picked up a virus when I, installed that new
you're walking around
mod or whatever.
You're walking around and it does that thing from, the Ready Player One where they were putting ads into the VR and, covering people's visions and all this sort of stuff. I'm just picturing you walking around and you've been infected with malware and all of a sudden there's this massive window that comes up and all you can see is through the periphery.
Yeah.
Effectively it's almost like cataracts.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so you're working IT support at this like junky old.
So what does
shop.
IT stand for? I think it's integrated.
Okay,
integrated technology.
Yeah, that's
so
good.
it's all about integration into your brain.
Yeah,
rather than information.
That's cool. Integrated technology. But you're essentially the equivalent of one of those old those ratty independent computer shops that that pops up in a strip mall or whatever. Like a sort of a poor area of town, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And it becomes it becomes the downtrodden fighting up against the 1% and the corporations.
Is it one of these things where you don't actually have a port?
Oh, yeah, maybe.
So your family wasn't even rich enough to actually,
or is there some sort
have
of
a port installed?
Like essentially religious grounds for not, and you no longer actually practice that religion particularly, and you're sort of, your parents have died, and you're, I'm picturing you're like maybe 50. Like, I think you're an older guy who's just gone along this whole time, never got the port, but you fix other people's, and you've just got this shop that people come to because you do good work for cheap rates.
Exactly. But it's just, it's the nefarious, like, virus that you keep on seeing poking up that drags you down this dark, nefarious plot to vandalize psychological.
You start seeing viruses that can break through and affect the brain in more nefarious ways. So now they can affect emotions. Now they can actually rewrite memories. Now they can, do permanent changes to the brain.
Oh, you know what I want to see in one of these things? Like, you plug into this lady's memories and you see a memory sort of playing out, and in the middle there's just like this product placement. for like, and it's just like, oh my god, this is so fucking horrible.
You look from the screen to her, and she's like holding that product. She's got a bag full of it.
But there's just something about, like, how far would these advertising companies actually go? And
but I love putting some like sort of.
There's no way that we could ever make these games, by the way, because it's just they're too huge and too.
No, absolutely. This is way beyond. But I love having some like little mini games in there where it's sort of like defragmenting or something, like or like going through a hex editor almost, and you're identifying the areas that have changed, that have been altered, and doing something to like bring them back, or bring back fragments of them as best you can, like restore the data that's been overridden because of the way it was written to the brain medium.
There's something about that visual scripting sort of thing, if you see a graph of basically some code, and you see that some has actually been commented out effectively, and you can sort of bring that back.
That's cool. Well, very much like in the Unreal Engine, where you can go into the debug mode and see the code executing through the visual script and flowing from one, down the wires.
And you can cool. choose how crazy it is, and how in depth you actually go, or do you actually go a little bit more simplified so that
look, you can
further that you go down, you can actually, if you start wanting to help some of the people later on in the game, you're kind of doing Witness-esque puzzles of working out and tracing through how all these viruses work.
I think if we were doing this for real, you'd have some accessibility options of like, I just want to play this for the story, and the puzzles just essentially solve themselves. Or, you could go right down that path of, no, I want this to be, hard and challenging, and it's full on like decoding this stuff in a real way. And that could be really fun to really build these systems in place with this visual scripting. And it's like, oh, but I want to, go into the code for this node in the scripting. All right, go in there. It's like, oh, this has been changed. You've got little markers or something that you can determine based on different things. That'd be really cool.
But just using that old technology of, someone comes up to you and you have to actually have the right adapter. And if you don't have that right adapter, then you've got to work out how you're actually going to get
there's almost an adventure gamey or Metroidvania-ish situation there, where it's like, oh, until you do a particular mission that gets you that connector, you like can't continue down this other path of the story. There's a bunch of like little side stuff you can still do, but you gate them in that way. That's cool.
Yeah. Okay. I love this.
Yeah, that's really fun. What's a shame with these sorts of games is I feel like there are aspects that would work really well in VR, plugging stuff in, blah, blah, but if you're doing a lot of typing and mouse stuff, that doesn't work as well in VR.
I see the Time Taxi is definitely VR. This not so much.
No,
I see this
one
as,
I think is just a PC game.
And it kind of feels like what I haven't really looked into Cyberpunk 2077 that much, but if it had an aspect of this in it, I would play it in an instant.
I think there is some hacking stuff from what I've seen in that way, in some of those ways, but yeah, I don't think it's anywhere like this. But yeah, this is definitely Cyberpunk, aesthetic and ideas. That's really cool. I love it. I love it. I have a virus to make me love this game. Okay.
I think what we're going to do is we're going to skip the movie. We're going to go straight into Second Chance Click Pitch. So I haven't looked into this. Ben has prepared the different ones from episode 5, I think we're going to go to.
We're going to go to episode 5. Now, we have 3 words per prompt here because, of course, we had a guest on. Jack.
Oh, my God, is this?
From Siege Sloth.
That's right. We had Jack first and then Emre's coming up in episode 7, I think.
But, yeah. So the episode was Pizza Delivery Pro. I am tempted to just pick that one, but... I don't know that I will. All right, I'm just going to pick one at random. I'm literally going to touch my screen. I missed them all completely. Okay. Let's just do the first one. Growing helium unbuckled.
Ooh, growing helium unbuckled.
So I have no idea what we did on this in episode 5. I'm definitely picturing hot air balloons of some sort.
Yep.
But unbuckled makes me think of some sort of like personal device, flying device.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, do we want to go into like a Celeste sort of, you're playing a helium balloon that has to navigate?
I don't know about playing the balloon itself, but I love the idea of a balloon-based platform navigation stuff in that Celeste style, where you've got moves to like inflate a balloon at some point and that will start floating you upwards, with the momentum, forward or backward momentum that you might have had from the jump, and then unbuckling yourself, essentially like cutting yourself off from that balloon, to then drop and continue your platforming in that way.
I kind of like the idea that's how you get sort of like the float mechanics. You sort of hit the button and it does an extreme sort of burst of helium out to get that one balloon to give you that extra little bit of hovering. But of course, if you turn around, you don't get that quite.
You can't move. This is the thing. Your forward momentum.
You've got no air control.
Yeah, you've got no air control. To get control back, you essentially need to cut the balloons, or balloon. So yeah, I feel like there's some gameplay here around, and again, it depends on how you do it. I think if you're doing it Celeste-ish, you either, in that same Celeste way, you've got a limited number of balloons until you like touch the ground again or something, or you literally make it a resource in some way where you've overall got a limited number of balloons. I feel like that could be punishing.
No, because then you could get to a point where, I can literally not finish this room because I don't have any balloons left. I think what you have is you have like that on any jump at the start, you have one balloon that you can pull out on that one jump, and it determines on when you pull it out, when you drop it. If your Y value is still going up when you do it, then it'll help you.
It gives you a sort of an upward boost.
Give you a bit of a slowdown.
Yeah. I mean, because as it actually would do, it's working against gravity, so you're going to get a longer jump, you're going to come down more slowly. I like the idea that
if you're already going down, pulling it will just give you a little bit of leeway, but it won't pull you back up.
No. So what I was thinking is, as you play the game, you get the ability to fire more balloons at once, right? So first you've just got the one balloon, which is essentially kind of a glide mechanic, right? Like, it's going to get you across larger gaps. It might, if you do it on your up, on your up jump, you might get a little bit more height out of it, but you're not going to like float to the top of the level.
No, definitely not.
You get like a double balloon, you get an extra nozzle for your helium tank or something, right? Whatever it is. You've got this explosive helium filler that fills these balloons instantly, and you get the extra nozzle. So now you can do 2, and that is again, it's almost the equivalent of a double jump in a way. It's like, okay, if you're in the air, it's going to give you quite a boost.
So you can actually have that floating sort of happening at the top. You can drop down and then you can set that floating going again after you get past the spikes to actually get down into the next
I wonder if you
little area.
I wonder if you have to pop each balloon or unbuckle each balloon individually.
Yeah.
Because then, you've got some things of like, okay, blast out 2 balloons. It's going to like get me moving, horizontal and maybe even slightly up. But then when you get to a certain point, all right, unbuckle one of those, start coming down, but don't go too far before you detach the last one and actually drop onto the platform that you're trying to hit. Yeah,
and then you can also have, different things of, if you hit a wall, you can do a wall kick and sort of push yourself out in a different direction.
Yeah, if you hit a wall, you can then push off, and you don't get any more upward movement until later when maybe you've got additional balloons. I also like the idea of the balloons, of there being puzzles around the balloons that you detach that then float up on their own without you attach. But like there could be where it's like, okay, jump from the left side of the level, fire 2 balloons so you get a bit of upward momentum, get over those spikes, drop 1 balloon at the right time, which floats up, hits a button to open the door that you need to float through, so it's that interaction as well.
But also, I think it's the number of balloons that you have is how many balloons you can have unfurled on you at once. It's how many spots in your belt. So you've got unlimited balloons that even while you're out there jumping, with your 1 balloon, you can pop it and do another single balloon, or you can unbuckle it. But it just you don't have as much control as if when you've got 2 balloons, then you've got a little bit more control because you've got a little bit more time to do things.
You'd have to experiment with that and maybe put a cooldown or something for putting a new balloon on or something like that. But no, I like that because then yes, you could. To get across a larger area with like ups and downs, it's like, let go of 1 balloon, but, one of the 2 and still have 1. So you're sort of dropping down, but slowly. And then once you get past that section, it's like, oh shit, like put another 2 on, because I've got 3 slots now and that's actually going to bring me up over another obstacle.
Okay. So I'm just wondering, with inflating the balloon, is there a hold down mechanic on one of your buttons that inflates the balloon?
I feel like that would add too much complexity. I was feeling like it's an instant kind of you now have a balloon.
I'm just wondering whether you can feed additional air into it or additional helium.
Right. I think look, there's definitely some interesting mechanics there. I feel like that would more have to be instead of having multiple balloons almost. Or you
maybe that's like the Celeste B-sides. In that, this is like the harder mode.
The other thing was, or you get maximum 2, and like each trigger fills either your left or your right, like one of the 2 balloons more. And it's more your helium is limited with a cooldown or a recharge or something.
I think it's a recharge in the fact that when you land on the ground, or just while you're not using it, it slowly comes up. While you're on the ground, it goes up faster.
Yeah. You do some techno babble about it, like grabbing helium from the atmosphere or something, doing fusion.
What it's actually doing is pulling it out of like another dimension. It's basically like they've got a portal inside this thing. And
again, you could do techno babble, whatever. It's a portal from another dimension. It's just pulling the like hydrogen out of the air and fusing it into helium. Like it's literally got a fusion reactor in there. I don't know, whatever. But yeah,
and it's lightweight.
Well, it has to be because you're literally floating on balloons. But no, I like the idea actually that the triggers inflate each balloon and then the bumpers disconnect that balloon. And so that gives you actually some nuance around, all right, I'm going to fill one up a ton and then fill up the other one up half. And like, it means that if you drop the one that's really full, you're going to start dropping faster. You've got some balance there. I mean, and that may actually be too complicated. I'm not sure how intuitive that would be.
That's why I reckon that's definitely for the B-sides. That's the complex mechanics. The initial game is just, one balloon, 2 balloons, 3 balloons. Sort of thing.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
And it's all about level design after that.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, and I think you could even bring in things like, okay, now, like letting go of your balloons do negative things as well. Like you can't let go of them at a certain point because it's going to, attract the attention of an enemy or something, or have something drop in front of you that's going to kill you.
It's based off the color. So,
God, now we're adding color in. Okay.
No, for certain enemies, like you can sort of cycle through and choose which one you actually want to let go.
Yeah,
I'm thinking that rather than having to do that live, when you want to cycle through the color, it does that little pause thing, and you can sort of select through. Yeah. I want to let go of the orange balloon right now.
Yeah, you could come up with some controls for it. I feel like that's maybe adding an extra level of complexity. That would be difficult. What I was going to say was maybe you get the ability to, instead of releasing a balloon, of popping the balloon so that you aren't worrying about where it's going. But maybe like then if you do that, then there's the sound or something. Yeah, like you could come up with a few different interesting things where it's like, oh, I can now no longer use that mechanic that I've been used to in the same way. I have to come up with a new interesting strategy to do that, essentially.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I like that. I like it.
I think we'll do one more and then we'll call it for the night.
Yeah, let's do one more second chance. Fuck it. Let's do temperature pizza carved.
Of course, it's got to be temperature pizza carved.
Come on. It's one of the games that I still think about. The original one, which we're obviously not going to do, but which was you were in a space station orbiting Earth, and you would get pizza delivery orders, and you had to use weapons to like fire pepperoni and cheese onto the pizza and cook it through the Earth's atmosphere.
God,
temperature pizza carved. So this is not that.
I mean, I'm just thinking it's like a VR game where you're basically playing Pizza Ninja, and you're having to like carve up the pizzas and stuff.
Carving pizzas in VR would be fun for sure. Throwing pepperoni on with ninja stars. I like ninja stars. I like maybe not going full on ninja. I like the idea of having to, for one, like spin the pizza dough above your head, like basically a pizza making game in some way. Obviously, you'd add arcadey mechanics in there, but getting the size of the pizza right, getting the temperature right, getting the like almost a cook served delicious sort of thing of like, oh, they want a pepperoni without the ham or whatever, a pepperoni without the ham. You know what I mean?
Pepperoni, no sauce.
Yeah, pepperoni, but but no meat. A vegetarian pepperoni, please. Pepperoni, but with nothing phallic on it. I'm really sensitive to that. Yeah, I don't know. That could be cool.
Yep.
Is that really what we're going to end on?
No, I think we need to do one more because I think this was the problem with that at the start. That if I remember rightly, we couldn't really think of much else, and then all of a sudden, Jack came out with this idea of pizza in space, and we were just like, Jesus Christ, how the fuck did we not think of that?
Maybe.
And we're 200 odd episodes later on, and we still can't think of it.
Well, that one failed the second chance test. All right, I'll choose a different one. Wrong fill device.
Okay, I'm sort of seeing a bartender trying to fill, all the glasses have smashed, and therefore he's just picking up whatever devices he can to fill up and make customers' orders.
Either that, or I like the bartender idea, but he has some sort of device to fill to fill the orders, and you're, I don't know, programming it or using it in some way, or you have to hit two buttons at once to mix certain drinks. Maybe a VR thing to make it kind of, I think we've done VR bartending, but it's a bit more of a automated sort of thing. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
So wrong fill device.
Maybe we take Phil to be like a guy named Phil.
And he's the wrong Phil.
He's the wrong Phil, and this device gets delivered to him.
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. Okay.
What does the device do? Is it like a bomb for a terrorist attack or something like.
Is it like some sort of portable music device that actually contains some secrets or something like that? So it's kind of like.
Or is it a wacky little robot that you make friends with that turns out to be a killing machine? But now that you've made friends with it, kind of a la Iron Giant or like Short Circuit in a way.
Short Circuit with murders.
I mean, number 5 was made to be a killing robot.
Yeah, I know. So in other words, this was made to be a nice robot, but it's now a killing robot, and
you teach it to kill. Okay. Yeah, this was supposed to go to friendly Phil Herman, who was, turning it into a
pizza making robot.
There you go. A pizza delivery robot with great, doormat manner.
Oh, it literally has like a little container that opens up that it cooks the pizza in as it's going. So basically, the guy makes the pizza, puts it into the robot, and as it's being delivered, it's actually cooking for you.
That's
so
awesome.
When it gets there,
and so this Phil,
it's hot out of the oven, like it's awesome.
And so this Phil looks at that and goes, "Oh, this is the ignition. I put all the bomb ingredients in here." and
deliver fiery death.
It fires the pizza shaped bomb out this front slot. And so it's essentially a like building game, and you have to figure out how to put all the pieces together to kill people.
There's just something about this kindly robot who's just trying to make his master proud. Like,
I do like the idea of a satirical kind of thing where this thing can talk to you, and the game keeps giving you missions to like install and reprogram it in this way that's just for horrible things. And the whole time this friendly robot is like, are you sure? Like, I don't think that's very safe. Please don't bypass my safety mechanism. Oh, you did. Okay. Oh, all right. I'm scared now. I could really hurt someone.
Does the robot turn on you?
Yeah, maybe. Because you're obviously not playing a good person in this situation. So actually, I do like the idea of you get to the end and you've essentially turned it into this terrorist machine. And
at first, you're trying to do the right thing, and you're getting some of the bad guys around the area, like the drug dealers and that sort of stuff, sort of killed. But as it goes through,
I'm almost picturing it as a much more. It's a smaller situation. A smaller game. The whole thing is just set in your lab, and it's almost just this dialogue as you go through and figure this stuff out and get sort of a bit of a backstory about this robot. But the last thing that you do is like disengage. You finally figure out how to disengage the like ethical
safety
protocols, and it's just like, no, I can't let you do this, and it just kills you. Like, instead of you sending it out to kill hundreds of people, it makes its own decision, and now it's no longer held back by those protocols, and it takes you out.
Yep. Okay, so the whole thing is just you trying to get it to do these things, and you're planning the bombs, and you're doing all this sort of stuff, and it ends up just killing you.
I think you've maybe got like little practice areas and stuff where as you install each thing, and as you disengage all the different protocols and reprogram it in these different ways, you're seeing it come together and doing what you want in these practice areas,
in the simulations.
Yeah. And then eventually it's just like, all right, now it's time. And I've finally cracked the code. Maybe the whole time there's like this cipher cracking thing going on to break the security of the highest security ethical protocols. That will let it kill people, and yeah, that's fun.
God,
I mean, fun is maybe not the right word for it. All right,
that's scary.
That's scary. On that horrifying note, I think we'll end the episode there. Mm-hmm. If you want to find us online, leave us a review. Let us know what you thought of this and all our previous episodes. Go to podchaser.com/bitstorm. We would love it if you gave us some feedback there. We're also part of the 8-Bit Collective, and that's a group of podcasters doing podcasts about games, video games, board games, pop culture, all sorts of stuff. So go to 8bit.net, check them out, give them some love.
If you like Australian gaming podcasts, then I've got the place to find them. That's the Australasian Gaming Podcast Network. You can find them on Facebook. Just search for the Australasian Gaming Podcast Network, or look on Twitter. Look for @AGP Network. And finally, we'd like to thank Kuridas for the use of the song Mount Defiance off of the album Containment Failure.
That's right. So thank you again for joining us this week on Bitstorm. I'm Ben Slinger.
I'm Trevor Scott. Yeah, g'day. When you going?
Yesterday, please.
Have you got your card there?
Shit. I forgot my ID.
No, then go back to the booth, get your card. I can't go anywhere without the card. I'll wait here.